Three kinds of people after reading the last few Boruto manga chapters. The first group is the group that looked at the remaining villains and said, finally, the Sasuke rescue arc is finally here. We're going to run back the Sasuke retrieval arc version 2.0. Then the second group, they just read the chapters for their favorite characters, and depending on how much screen time they get in the chapter, it directly correlates with their enjoyment of the chapter. The third group looked at Bug turning into the anime version of expired milk, and they realized, oh no, Sasuke might be running out of a warranty too, because if Boruto learned anything from Bug's death, it's that getting the Thorn Soul Bulb isn't something that is the finish line anymore. It's getting there before the clock runs out, and Boruto's conversation with Sarada in the last chapter, the cryptic line about not losing hope, makes way more sense when you remember what Ikimoto said played a huge part of inspiration for the plot of Boruto 2 Blue Vortex, which is The Matrix. Join me in today's newest Naruto Explained video where you'll see your original Boruto chief takes a look at why there's a rug pull moment coming later on in this Shinju saga that, while it won't be on the level of omnipotence, there are seeds being planted for what could be a controversial choice if Ikimoto sticks to his stated Matrix influence. Also, the latest round of Patreon exclusive videos have been released here on YouTube, from the strongest ninjas to never become Jonin to Damon's reflection jutsu explained with clarifying information we have from the Mushi fight, to every category of scientific ninja tools in Boruto explained, to the mega in-depth video that explains how strong every version of Tsunade is, from Kid Tsunade to current Tsunade. Videos will be linked in the description box, and big shouts out to the patrons whose pledges help pay for those videos and a few more videos that you will be seeing coming to YouTube over the next several weeks. So ever since Sasuke was turned into a tree, the question has never really been if he'll come back. It's always been when, and I think most fans of the series would agree to that. If you're a long-term viewer of the channel, you know that my stated belief is that you can kill off one of the two golden goose in the form of Naruto and Sasuke, but you can't kill both. Though, ironically, Boruto Part 1, once it transferred to V-Jump magazine, quite a few of the volumes where Naruto and Sasuke were not the primary focus in the long run ended up outperforming the same volumes where they were a primary focus in that V-Jump era. And in Boruto 2 Blue Vortex, it doesn't have them in the manga at all outside of roughly 10 pages. And Boruto 2 Blue Vortex right now is pushing closer to 3 million copies in Japan when you include the digital sales. The thing is that as long as Hidari has existed, there has always been a path to freeing Sasuke, and the story has given us a little bit of hope to hold on to. The problem was never defeating Hidari. The problem was surviving long enough to do it. In Kashin Koji's words, they dropped a hint as to how that will happen, but we'll touch on that a little later on. For now, let's look at the battlefield that's been changing in this war against the Shinju, because understanding that is the key to everything. So, Mamushi's gone. He got that 2-for-1 special. Ryu, he's gone as well. He got that Sarada Crush special. Matsuri's gone. She got the Boruto Sword special. Only Jura remains alongside Hidari and Code, which means that the number of obstacles standing between Boruto and Sasuke has been shrinking chapter by chapter, or to be more clarifying, arc after arc. Naturally, fans have started believing that the rescue's right around the corner. I don't think that you're wrong if you think that. It's one of the first conclusions I came to as well, that it was time for our favorite handicapped Uchiha to come out of that tree and walk into retirement to collect his shinobi disabilities benefits. I just think that fans are looking past the wrong danger, because Bug changed everything. When Bug died, it wasn't just another tragic moment. All 5 of the Bug fans, they're still in mourning about his death of that meth head inspired character that Ikimoto drew. It completely rewrote the rules surrounding the Thorn Soul Bulbs as we assumed them to be. Up until that point, most people assumed recovering the Thorn Soul Bulb was all that mattered. You beat the Shinju, you recover the bulb, and you restore the original person. Simple. Except that's not quite exactly it. It's close, but not exactly it. Boruto watched Bug die before he could use his Thorn Soul Bulb to save him, and it wasn't a long time either. That single scene introduced something terrifying. The Thorn Soul Bulbs, they don't wait forever. They're operating on a timer nobody truly understands completely. We're all flying in the dark at this point when it comes to this, which suddenly makes Sasuke's situation a lot less comfortable than it looked a few chapters ago when ignorance was bliss. Think about it for a second. If Sasuke's bulb has an expiration date, then every second Boruto spends chasing code, fighting Jura, avoiding Kawaki, and trying not to become Jura's next snack is another second that Sasuke's life continues slipping away, because each day that goes by, that Thorn Soul Bulb potentially is going to have less time that it can be used once Hidari is defeated. And as we saw, that's a short countdown timer. That's exactly why I think Boruto's recent conversation with Sarada deserves a closer look, because something about it feels incomplete, as it should, given that a majority of it happened on screen, which, geez, the Studio Pierrot is going to use that to insert filler when the anime comes back, probably because they're going to have some random person show up and ask for help locating their long-lost cat or their missing father, and the conversation ends up being put on the background, and we get a mini arc that ends with them returning to that tree to continue the conversation. Don't believe me? Look at how Naruto's manga literally took Naruto eating ramen with Iruka, and there was a panel showing the ramen shop, and then suddenly we got the whole Land of Tea filler arc. Do not doubt Studio Pierrot taking small moments to do filler. On the surface, that sounds insane. Boruto told Sarada to allow herself to be captured by Code if he came to her. It's basically the ninja version of telling somebody, hey, just trust me, bro, right before asking them to jump into a wood chipper. But Sarada agreed. That's the important part. She didn't argue, she didn't question him, she accepted him. And it shows how much she truly trusts Boruto and how deeply their bond runs. She knows if Boruto's asking her to do something like that, he has his reasons, and she knows whatever they are, he's got her well-being in his mind when it comes to asking her to do those things. Yet, the thing that bugged me the most was the manga cut a chunk of the conversation. Again, on one hand, the experienced manga reader inside me sees this and says, early Boruto 2 Blue Vortex was pretty quick paced, didn't have a lot of room for filler due to how it was paced, but over the last 14 months I've begun noticing a few spots where it feels like the manga has been building in intentionally room for anime filler. It's something Naruto's manga did at times too, but from a writing perspective, this was also done for another reason, and not because the discussion itself was over, because the audience just wasn't allowed to hear the rest. Ikimoto has done this before. Whenever an important conversation happens off panel, it's usually because the missing information will reveal something too early. The reader's allowed to know most of the outcome, but not the reasoning behind it. One example being Boruto's conversation with Kawaki, the extension of Boruto's conversation with Kashin Koji when Boruto learned about 10 directions, and more of Sasuke's conversation with Boruto after Omnipotence was casted and they were rogue ninjas. That's exactly what happened here. Boruto gave Sarada instructions. She accepted them. Then the audience got kicked out of the room, which raises a very obvious question. What else did Boruto tell her? Now, personally, I don't think the answer revolves around Code and how they defeat him. I do think Boruto goes over more of his plan beyond what we were told. However, I think it revolves around Sasuke and Boruto potentially withholding some information from Sarada, ironically, to make sure that things don't stray too far from the path intended. Gotta remember, this timeline where they're trying to save Sasuke, Koji warned Boruto, there's hardly any room for error when it comes to Sasuke. Because right after that conversation, Boruto tells Sarada something that initially sounds like generic main character encouragement. He tells her, no matter what happens, don't lose hope. That's like the most Shonen Jump thing you could ever expect. Most readers probably move past it. It sounded nice. It sounded inspirational. It sounded like Boruto was just being on his Piccolo vibes. Show up, or farm, drop a cool cryptic line, and then you just leave. That's classic protagonist dialogue. Except Boruto doesn't really waste words anymore, especially now. This older version of Boruto measures every sentence like someone trying to conserve oxygen underwater. He rarely speaks unless he has something meaningful to say, outside of the moments where we did see him lose his composure. So why that sentence? Why do I harp on it so much? The why don't lose hope line. Why not simply tell Sarada everything will work out and how it'll work out? Because that's not the same statement. Telling someone everything will be okay promises a destination. Telling someone not to lose hope prepares them for the journey, and it's a warning that things can and they probably will get a little bumpy in the process. Those words imply something painful still coming, and to prepare yourself, because every inch of it is about to hurt, but even though it might not all fit, you still have to put it into your shinobi box, because a shinobi has to endure, no matter how painful it is to take it. Almost like Boruto already knows there's going to be a moment where Sarada believes that everything's falling apart. A moment where Sasuke saving him feels impossible. That potentially something happens to Boruto right in front of her, and we all know what happens when Uchiha loses their composure. They end up with more emotional baggage and messed up angry decisions than an oddball, lonely heart clutching the lowly collection after realizing their best friend went on a training arc with their girlfriend. Jokes aside, that's where things start becoming really interesting if you're a super hardcore fan of the series. Back in 2024, Mikio Ikimoto revealed one of the biggest inspirations behind Boruto 2 Blue Vortex. He said it was the Matrix. The moment I heard that, a lot of things clicked immediately. Boruto always felt incredibly similar to Neo. Not because he wears black, although somebody somewhere is probably building that conspiracy board as we speak. Where Ikimoto made that statement, I went, okay, hold on a second. Boruto's Neo, Sarada's Trinity, Kashin Koji is a blend of the Oracle and potentially the Architect. For now, let's look at the Boruto Neo thing for a second. So why do I feel that way outside of Ikimoto's own words? It's because both of those characters, Boruto and Neo, exist inside worlds where destiny appears to be predetermined when you first get into it and start digging into it. Neo spends a portion of the Matrix being told certain events can't be changed. For the Gen Z listeners of this video, I strongly recommend watching the trilogy. So much about 2 Blue Vortex make a lot more sense if you do that. Boruto has already spent the entirety of 2 Blue Vortex hearing exactly the same thing, except instead of hearing it from machines, he's hearing it from Kashin Koji, who ironically is as heartless as a machine. Man sent Yodo out there to die before she could give her confession to Shinki and before she could go to Ninja Prom with Shinki. Which somewhere Tommy Bunnybread is in the Patreon Discord server saying, I gotta do a fanfic about Shinki and Yodo at Ninja Prom. Koji possesses one of the most fascinating abilities in the series, 10 Directions, a power that allows him to observe countless branching futures. Basically a mathematical probability machine. It's an unbelievable gift when you think about it. It's also an unbelievable burden. Because imagine spending every waking moment seeing thousands of different outcomes. You don't start thinking like an ordinary person anymore. Which again, how he does not have PTSD from seeing the world destroyed a million times over, I'll never understand. But it makes me give Jiraiya his props, because we talk so much about Hashirama's DNA, but Koji's DNA is proof that those Jiraiya cells, they have a strong mental capacity too, because that is torture to endure. You begin to start thinking more statistically. People are numbers to you. You start making every decision based on probability. Every sacrifice becomes acceptable if it produces the highest chance of success. That's why Koji comes across cold. It's not because he lacks compassion. It's because he's looking at percentages while everyone else is looking at people. When Koji sees Boruto and he tells him that someone can't be saved, he's not speaking emotionally. He's just talking from a mathematical perspective. He does not understand what reading the room looks like. He's speaking mathematical, that based on everything he's seen, this is the most probable outcome. And Boruto keeps rejecting that math. He's saying the math ain't mathing. Basically, screw the numbers. We have evidence of the truth hiding in boxes somewhere that's waiting to be dumped. That happened over and over and over again. Koji warned Boruto about interfering with timelines. Boruto did it anyway. Koji accepted Bug's death. Boruto still felt some guilt. Koji constantly weighed outcomes. Boruto constantly asked, can a different possibility be explored? That difference sounds small. It sounds minute to you, but it really isn't from a narrative perspective. It's the entire philosophical divide between these two characters. And once I started thinking about that and paying a little closer attention to their interactions in the almost 2 years since Ikimoto made that statement, another Matrix comparison suddenly started to make a lot more sense. Not Neo, not Trinity, not the Oracle. The Architect, and that Kashin Koji was a hybrid of both the Oracle and the Architect. When most people think about the Matrix, they think about Neo dodging bullets or Agent Smith throwing hands with everyone who forgot to renew their health insurance. But the heart of that story was never the action. It was a battle between two completely different ways of viewing the future. The Architect believed everything could be reduced to simple equations. Every choice, every outcome, every sacrifice, there was always a correct answer because eventually the math would solve itself. The Oracle saw the exact same world and came to an opposite conclusion. She understood something the Architect never fully could. People don't always make the logical decision. They make the emotional one. Hope, love, fear, grief. Those emotions throw perfectly balanced situations completely off course. That's why the Oracle could guide humanity in ways that the Architect never could. She wasn't better at predicting numbers. She was better understanding people. Now, think about Kashin Koji. Ever since receiving 10 directions, Koji has started living almost entirely inside of the realm of probability. Every future he sees becomes another branch to evaluate, another timeline to protect, another set of calculations that he has to weigh percentages of. If this person dies, then the odds improve. If Boruto goes here instead of there, well, the odds, they decrease. If this battle's avoided, well, hey, the odds, they're going to decrease as well. But if Kiba is made to a blood sacrifice, then the odds, they improve exponentially. He's constantly trying to stack the deck before the cards are ever truly dealt. And honestly, can anyone blame him? Koji's seen Boruto die not once, not twice, countless times. Imagine carrying that knowledge around every single day and then looking at the person you saw die and feel it in the pit of your stomach because you know that he's the only one who could defeat the person that you saw destroy the world countless times. Imagine knowing that almost every road eventually leads to watching someone you've placed your high hopes in get killed by Jura. Eventually, you stop asking what feels right. You start asking what can survive. That is consequentialism, and that's why I love Koji. Boruto represents what we should aspire to be, like every cliche shonen protagonist does. But Kashin Koji represents what happens when the world has given us every reason to be skeptical and forego hope, and when we do feel it, we find ourselves not being able to truly appreciate what we have when we have it. We lose the ability to think and view the world as a child, which sometimes in life there are times where a child's perspective is the only way to actually understand the situation in front of you. A situation you think seems complex through the eyes of a child is very simple. The outcome becomes more important than the individual moments that are leading to it. It's a brutally efficient mindset. It also is the exact opposite of who Boruto's become. Because every single time Koji tells Boruto that a future is unavoidable, Boruto immediately starts searching for another door. When Koji warned him against certain events, Boruto changed them. When Koji accepted that Bug's death was likely, Boruto still tried to save him, and it ate him up that he couldn't save him. When Koji presented a future as the safest option, Boruto kept asking or behaving like it's not the only option. He refused to accept that there wasn't another way forward, especially if it meant somebody dying. Notice the pattern. Boruto isn't rejecting Koji because he thinks 10 Direction is fake. The opposite. He knows the information gained from it is very much real. He's rejecting the idea that probability equals destiny, or to put it better, he's rejecting the thesis that probability equals destiny. Like, Kashin Koji is that graduate student who is defending his thesis in front of a group who are looking to poke holes in it. It's not personal, it's just part of the process. That's an incredibly important distinction to make. Boruto trusts Koji to an extent, and he knows Koji has valid information, just as that committee knows you put a long period of time into doing research, but they are pushing to see how complete your findings are. Boruto simply refuses to surrender to the future Koji believes is most likely. And that's exactly why I think his conversation with Sarada carries so much more weight than people realize. It's a huge red flag for Sasuke's fate. Notice we got this right after Boruto saw what happened when he couldn't save someone in time. The timing was intentional. Go back to those words. No matter what happens, don't lose hope. Think about how strangely specific that is. Boruto didn't promise that she'd understand. He didn't promise that everything would go according to plan. He didn't even promise that Sasuke would be rescued eventually. If they even talk shop about Sasuke for a long period of time, because so much happened on screen, but given it's the Ten Tails dimension and Code was supposed to take Sarada to the Shinju for the hopes that Boruto would surrender himself to save Sarada, it makes sense that Sasuke did come up at some point, likely the idea being to take out Code and Hidari as quickly as possible and then teleport to the marker Boruto has Sasuke's tree, like we saw him teleport to in chapter 4. He simply asked her to keep on believing. Why? Because I think Boruto already knows there's going to be a point where every single piece of evidence tells Sarada she's lost and she's going to be on the brink of another psychotic break. Maybe Sasuke's condition worsens. Maybe the Thorn Soul Bulb starts showing the same signs of decay that Bugs did very quickly, maybe even faster. Maybe Boruto himself disappears. Maybe everything around her starts saying that it is over for them. And if that moment comes, Sarada's greatest enemy is not going to be someone like Jura. It's going to be despair, because despair is what makes people stop moving. Hope keeps them moving long after logic tells them they should quit. That is why Boruto's words, they should not be taken as simply encouragement. They should be taken as preparation. Preparation for a future he already has anticipated how she's going to react. And suddenly, that off-screen conversation starts looking a lot more suspicious. Think about it. Boruto tells Sarada how Code's going to capture her. She agrees to do that. The conversation continues. Boruto filled in a lot of stuff off-screen with Sarada. It makes me wonder, are we going with the possibility that Boruto is going to attempt to break fate? The people around him have to keep acting even after fate appears like it's winning. That's where Sasuke comes back into this discussion. Everyone's assuming the rescue's simply about defeating Hidari, recovering the Thorn Soul Bulb, unsealing Sasuke. And for the most part, I think that's right. But Bug's death did prove something terrifying. Victory can arrive too late. That's a nightmare Boruto's trying to avoid. He's no longer racing Hidari, he's racing time itself. Every decision Boruto's made since Bug's death makes a lot of sense. How he's preparing Sarada, leaving flying Raijin markers, potentially taking risks that Koji wouldn't approve of. None of those actions look random anymore. They look like someone desperately trying to create that one timeline that Koji couldn't see. One future where Boruto obviously survives, Sasuke survives, and nobody has to die. That's always been Boruto's greatest flaw to someone like Koji. He refuses to leave anyone behind. Ironically, that may be what is Boruto's greatest strength. Think about every major change that Boruto's forced into the timeline. He's always refused to make that optimal decision. He's chosen compassion over efficiency, trust over certainty, possibility over probability. All those choices They paid off for the most part. Some have backfired, but most of them haven't. When you really think about what this Shinju saga is showing us, it's telling us that love is making characters do things that they normally wouldn't. Look at Jura. He started to drift away from pure logic. When he explained why he rushed to save Hidari, it wasn't because Hidari was strategically valuable. It wasn't because Sasuke's chakra made him irreplaceable. Jura just imagined a world without Hidari and it made him sad. Emotion dictated his decision, not calculation. I don't think that those were words that were dropped in the exact same chapter for no reason. There's something building here. Ikimoto is not using hope as blind optimism. Hope is refusing to accept that today's impossible future has to become tomorrow's reality. And if Ikimoto truly is drawing inspiration from the Matrix like he said, then Boruto, maybe his role was never simply to become the strongest shinobi alive. Maybe his true purpose is something much bigger than that. Maybe Boruto is the one person capable of proving that even a future witnessed thousands of times can still be wrong. The only question left now is, will Boruto survive? Will Sasuke be safely unsealed? Or does Ikimoto have it in him for one major rug pull? One that might be on the level of omnipotence. Obviously, if you enjoyed this video, consider subscribing. Click here on the left. Check out this new Naruto Explained video, or click here on the right. Check out this video that YouTube says you will probably enjoy.